On a beautiful summer day in Gary, Indiana, a black man dressed in a dark suit stepped confidently into a neighborhood recreational facility. The recreational facility was located at Gary's Fisher Park, 4300 Fillmore Street. The park was equipped with 2 baseball diamonds, a concession stand, and a municipal pool, which was open to the public. The black man was Richard Gordon Hatcher, newly inaugurated mayor of Gary, Indiana. Waiting for him were 12 white children who enthusiastically greeted him with, "Hi, Mayor." The man who won the 1967 election by a narrow 1,300 votes smiled at the children. It is at this very park where Hatcher will meet the beginning of his political undoing. By now, Glen Park had emptied out the majority of its white residents. Blacks slowly trickled in, purchasing homes that were being sold for cheap. Yet Glen Park's numbers did not yet equal up to what it used to be 10 years prior. The neighborhood began to go down from neglect and crime. The national economy changed and the mills were in the midst of massive layoffs. As a result, city services suffered. Garbage was not being collected, and city parks and pools were being closed, including Fisher Park's pool. The pool at Fisher Park was adorned with "No trespassing" signs. No one knows how long these signs had been hanging, but children still found a way to enter the pool area to play, totally ignoring the warnings to stay out. July 21st, 1978 was a scorching summer day with temperatures in the 90s and high humidity. Relief was being sought throughout the city. This included 2 children, brothers Christopher Pate, 11, and his little brother Michael, 5. The 2 boys hopped a barbed wire fence and gained unsupervised access to Fisher Park Pool. No one knows exactly what happened, but an unidentified passerby who knew the pool was closed spotted a pair of shoes adjacent to the pool. There was children's clothing scattered about the walk around the edge of the pool, yet there was no one in sight. The person gained access to the pool's walk and investigated. The water was dark and murky. It was filled with algae, which in conjunction with other contaminants in the water made it impossible to see what was inside the pool. Pond scum covered the surface of the water and the sides of the pool, but there was a defect: splash patterns in the algae and scum. Alarmed, the person called the police department. The police and fire departments arrived and began the process of pumping out the dirty pool water. However, that process took forever. It was decided to cancel the evacuation of the decrepit water and send divers in the pool. Unfortunately, the divers found the bodies of young Christopher and Michael. This night was hot, being 82 degrees at midnight. The wind was blowing at 17 miles per hour, which made it somewhat bearable. However, as the night went on, the temperature began to drop, as well as the humidity. By noon on Sunday, June 9th, the temperature was 84 degrees with a humidity level of 25%. By 6 p.m., it was 82 degrees, dry, mostly cloudy and comfortable outside. Perfect summer weather. At Fisher Park Pool, the pool had been used the year before. It was scheduled to be opened on the 24th, 2 weeks after schools closed for the summer. However, lessons were not learned from 7 years prior. Children and teenagers continued to access the pool unsupervised. Such was the case on June 9th, 1985. 5 children, all related to each other, decided to head to the pool the evening of the 9th. It was said that they went to hunt tadpoles and brought along a green plastic bucket with them to collect the tadpoles inside. Just as in 1978, the water was dirty and murky, covered in pond scum. This was the case in spite of the fact that the city of Gary cleaned the pool the week prior. The concrete pool liner, walls, and tiles were scrubbed, and the stagnant water from the year before was pumped out and replaced. Yet there is something about pools that I have not discussed. There is a method of physics called hydrostatic pressure. In-ground concrete pools are built to withstand the pressure of the dirt that it sits in. The pressure of the dirt around the walls of the pool can be enough to crack or buckle the pool, causing tremendous damage. Also, if there is groundwater surrounding the pool as well as dirt, concrete pools can pop out of place and float like a ship. Of course, this can greatly damage a pool. Everything from lumps and bumps to cracking and buckling of either the pool, the ground above the pool, or both. To prevent these issues, a certain amount of water is left in the pool. This water creates what is known as hydrostatic pressure, which is the equilibrium of liquid and the pressure exerted by this liquid at equilibrium or at rest. The liquid being water, hydro, and the water being still or static in one place. There are complex calculations that go into determining the necessary amount of standing water inside of a pool. These calculations depend on the weight of the materials, the weight of the dirt that the pool sits in, how deep the pool is, if there is groundwater, gravity, the force of gravity, and etc. But what matters is that when the city of Gary cleaned the pool, they left a certain amount of water standing inside of it per common practice. It stormed after the city cleaned the pool, which introduced the algae and other plant matter and contaminants into the water, as well as making the pool deeper than what the city left it. The evening of June 9th, 1985, the 5 children passed by our home down the street from Fisher Park Pool, where they ran into a 15-year-old teenager. The teenager watched as the 5 children attempted to access the pool. He yelled at them, attempting to get them to understand that the pool was closed and that they were not allowed inside. However, the 5 children simply ignored him. The 15-year-old thought nothing else of it and returned to whatever business he was doing. The 5 children somehow got into the fence that was topped with barbed wire and chain closed at the gates with a padlock. Just as in the Pate brothers' case, shoes and clothing were removed and the children entered the pool sometime after 6:30 p.m. The shallow end of the pool was dry, but the deep end of the pool had 7 feet of standing, murky water. What happened next, no one knows for sure, but it is hypothesized that once the children made their way closer to the water, one slipped and fell inside of the water at the deep end. An attempt was made to rescue this one child by the other 4. At some point, all of the children ended up in the deep end of the pool, which was absolutely deeply saturated with pond scum and algae. None of the children knew how to swim. They clawed at the slippery concrete walls, trying in vain to walk up the slope. Hindered by the scum at the bottom of the pool, they were stuck. They struggled to the point that their fingernails ripped, either by fatigue or by other means too terrible to consider. One by one, each of the 5 children succumbed, losing their fight with the murky water. The viscosity of the algae and scum, especially in water, is commonly referred to as being like an oil slick. If you haven't taken a walk through the woods, climbed a moss-covered hill or slope, or otherwise not come into contact with scum at all, then you don't know how slippery it is. Scum can be extremely dangerous in certain situations, such as this. The children were later identified as Linda Britton, 13, and her sister, Ossie Britton, 12, Edward Thigpen, 10, and his sister, London Thigpen, 6, who were cousins of the Britton sisters, and Jacqueline Sharp, 10, the young auntie to the other 4 children previously mentioned. At around 7:35 p.m., the mother of the 15-year-old who attempted to stop the kids earlier, Mrs. Rivera, got a frantic knock on her door from 2 other teen boys. They went to sneak into the pool themselves. Drawing parallels to the Pate brothers incident, the teens noticed 4 pairs of shoes neatly lined up in a row near the water, but they saw no one. They climbed the fence and investigated the pool by eye. They spotted a body and ran immediately to call the police. It is about this time that the mother of the Britton sisters arrived on the other side of Fisher Park to search for the children, whom were late coming home. Meanwhile, Mrs. Rivera ran to the park in a vain attempt to help. Once she arrived, she saw something ominous. In addition to the clothes and shoes, she saw the claw marks in the algae and pond scum, long finger trails and slide marks extending from the edge of the pond scum down into the dark, brackish water below, and no one could be seen. Emergency services arrived and immediately retrieved the 5 children. It is at this point when the mother noticed the activity from the other side of the park and went to investigate what was going on. Once she arrived on the scene, she hysterically identified her daughter, Linda Britton, at the scene while rescuers were retrieving her from the water. The children were sent to different hospitals in the region in a frantic attempt to save their lives. However, by 10:30 p.m., Lake County Coroner Daniel D. Thomas declared all 5 children dead. They drowned at the Fisher Park Municipal Pool. What does this have to do with Richard Hatcher? Well, the drownings of these 5 children sparked an intense emotional reaction in the Glen Park community. People organized and protested against the Hatcher administration in a manner that had not happened before. They claimed that Hatcher was a negligent mayor, riding around in limousines but unable to properly secure a pool fence. Residents around Fisher Park complained that they petitioned the city to close the pool in question back in 1978 when the Pate brothers drowned, but the city of Gary made no move to tear the pool down. They just closed it, fortified the entrances, and sent police around to check the pool every now and then. It seems that the pool was met with disrepair during the times it was closed, and the fencing around the pool was tampered with by children in the neighborhood to the point that chaining the gate shut were ineffective. The pool was completely drained Monday, June 10, 1985, under the watchful eye of the neighborhood. Makeshift memorials were erected in honor of the 7 lives lost at the pool, which the park department removed shortly thereafter. This incident sparked a series of anti-Hatcher group protests and rejuvenated the call to replace his leadership. Hatcher was subsequently voted out of office and replaced by Thomas Barnes, who demolished the guard shack at Fisher Park and filled the pool in with debris.